Last year, you made a powerful statement saying the reason people are watching women's basketball is not just because of one player, but because of you too. A year later, do you feel like you're
Next question.
Yeah, we'll move on. Thank you. Move on to Zoom. ESPN, please unmute.
A single question hung in the air, unfinished, yet the answer was already screaming. A reporter had barely begun to ask if the explosion in women's basketball viewership was due to more than one player, when Angel Reese cut him off with just 2 words. Next question. It was a subtle yet powerful declaration, hinting at the complex, often contentious relationship between the WNBA and its new supernova, Caitlin Clark. And that relationship, my friend, has taken a truly dramatic turn. Caitlin Clark's impact on the WNBA is, frankly, undeniable. Millions of new fans, sold-out arenas, and viewership numbers shattering records left and right. Yet, what's equally undeniable is how the league initially fumbled its golden opportunity. Instead of embracing the sheer force of the Caitlin Clark effect, many within the WNBA pushed back. They questioned the hype, downplayed her seismic impact, and perhaps most bizarrely, they openly mocked her fans. It was as if they saw this unprecedented surge of interest not as a gift, but as a threat. From the outside looking in, it made absolutely no sense.
Made 0 sense.
But the WNBA last year, bless their hearts, finally got a star. And they didn't know that. They couldn't figure it out. Well, we don't want to put too much Caitlin Clark on. Nope, every game. More Caitlin Clark all the time, always. Caitlin Clark is easily the most influential athlete in a team sport since Michael Jordan.
The success.
This was the star the WNBA had dreamed of for decades, and they seemed utterly baffled by what to do with her. They didn't want too much Caitlin Clark, but every single game the numbers screamed for more.
At this point, it's safe to say that the Caitlin Clark effect elevated the WNBA to another level and was similar to Michael Jordan's effect in the NBA.
When I think about Caitlin Clark, the operative word that comes to my mind is gratitude. There's an incredible level of gratitude that should be accorded to this young lady with what she did for the sport.
Caitlin Clark isn't just an athlete. She's arguably the most influential figure in a team sport since Michael Jordan himself. The success she brought, the mainstream breakthrough, the headlines, the palpable hype, the arenas packed to the rafters, it was everything the WNBA had envisioned for generations. They finally had the moment, the player, the spotlight, the cultural breakthrough that promised real money, respectable salaries, and global attention. But there was a catch, and for many in the WNBA, this wasn't a celebration. It was something closer to a funeral. Because for some, Caitlin being the one wasn't just a plot twist. It was the harsh reality that their own dream of collectively elevating the league might never materialize. The bitterest pill to swallow? After years of being told fans simply didn't care about the women's game, the fans did show up. They just showed up for Caitlin.
We say her stats are today, 20 points, 8.4 assists, 6 rebounds.
That's crazy.
But 5.
The jealousy, it seems, began long before Clark ever laced up a pair of pro sneakers. Her college career was nothing short of generational. She shattered the NCAA all-time scoring record, leading Iowa to back-to-back national championship games. Every arena she touched sold out, and her signature logo threes became instant legend. Then came the WNBA draft. No suspense, just a coronation. She was the obvious #1 pick, but more than that, she was the moment. The camera flashes, the overwhelming press coverage, the sponsors lining up. This stung. The league had seen great players before, MVPs and champions, but none had entered with this kind of unbridled hype. And so, the first stage of grief emerged: denial.
Caitlin's coming. There's more than just that are coming. What will the league have in store for them when they get there?
Look, SVP, reality is coming.
It wasn't just skepticism, it was outright resistance. The old guard, from players to media and even some executives, immediately moved to downplay the phenomenon. If Caitlin had simply flopped, or even just been average, they would have had their "I told you so" moment. The narrative was ready. College is college, but the WNBA is a different beast. Except, that's not what happened. Her first game exploded with 2.1 million viewers, the most watched WNBA game in over 2 decades. Every time she stepped on the court, ratings soared, jerseys flew off shelves, and she wasn't just meeting the moment, she was owning it. That's when the second stage hit. anger.
Last season. Clark, hammer. 3 Sky players coming over. Here's Clark. For 29 points, gets tripped up.
Is good. Kennedy Carter now with 12 points off the bench.
When it became undeniably clear that Caitlin's pull wouldn't simply vanish, regardless of the eye rolls or media critiques, the next step was alarming. Damage control, not off the court but on it. Whether consciously or not, a physical pushback began. Hard screens, off-ball hits, unnecessary contact, and the refs often swallowed their whistles. It became a pattern. Let her get hit. Let her get frustrated. Let her question if she truly belonged. If the hype wouldn't die naturally, they would try to snuff it out physically. Game after game, it wore on her. She was exhausted, bruised, mentally drained. But here's the kicker. Caitlin rose above it all. She didn't cry, she didn't fold. She got stronger, physically and mentally, and returned after the Olympic break playing the best basketball of her life. We're talking MVP-level play, leading the Fever to wins, breaking assist records, making first-team All-Star. Once she proved the hype was undeniably real, we entered the third stage, bargaining.
It's just the structure of the way media plays out race. So last night, we read Time magazine where Caitlin Clark was named Athlete of the Year. Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover?
The one thing that I cannot deny is the amount of little girls that were showing up to follow her. Little girls with their parents and the fervor and the energy there.
Why her?
Same thing.
Why her?
Well, but she was a white girl from the middle of America.
This is where people started to make sense of the new reality, negotiating with themselves and others to explain it all in a way that let them cling to what they felt they'd lost. Status, pride, control. Many players, let's be honest, lost their ego. Caitlin stormed the league, and suddenly the spotlight wasn't on the veterans. It was squarely on her. So, what was the new story? It was about media structure, or race. They couldn't directly attack Caitlin without a massive backlash, so they went after everything around her. They attacked her fans, blamed the media, claiming Caitlin was getting privileged treatment, and her supporters weren't real WNBA fans. The narrative spun was insidious. If you liked Caitlin Clark, it must be because of her skin color. Never mind that she was leading the league in assists as a rookie, drawing record crowds, and bringing more eyes to the game than ever before. None of that seemed to matter. This wasn't about her greatness. It was about alleged bias.
Was about bias.
While Caitlin is fantastic and I think she's going to have an incredible career in the WNBA, there are women that were worthy of coverage prior to her arriving, and I just will not be silenced when it comes to that.
It was the classic propaganda playbook. Repeat the lie enough, shout it loud enough, and eventually, some will start to question the truth. A portion of the basketball world began to believe Caitlin Clark wasn't talented, just lucky. But if they thought this narrative would make the Caitlin Clark effect simmer down, they were dead wrong.
And for the first time in history, WNBA games will be played in the United Center. The Chicago Sky will host the Indiana Fever at the UC on Saturday, June 7th, and on Sunday, July 27th.
One by one, something extraordinary began to happen. Veteran players started lining up to join the Indiana Fever. These weren't desperate players. These were seasoned champions like Dana Bonner, Natasha Howard, and Sydney Colson. Women with options, women with rings. And they all wanted the same thing, to play in Indy. Not just for the roster or the coach, but because of Caitlin Clark. Not long ago, media voices had painted Indiana as a place no one wanted to go. But that narrative collapsed. Indy wasn't just a destination, it became the destination. With that, the floodgates opened. For the first time in history, WNBA games were moved to NBA arenas, specifically for her. Teams usually playing in smaller gyms were suddenly booking massive venues because the demand wasn't optional. If Caitlin was coming to town, more seats were a necessity.
And the average reported ticket price was $650. Now, if you do the math here and you do 15,000 people times $650, that is almost $9.75 million just for a WNBA preseason game.
Then came the broadcast schedule. Out of the Indiana Fever's 44 regular season games, an astonishing 41 were nationally televised. That isn't just visibility, it's saturation. Networks weren't hedging bets. They were pushing all their chips on one player, betting that the Caitlin Clark show was worth primetime billing almost every single night. And the preseason games? One exhibition game sold out a 15,000-seat arena. This was preseason, with no standings, no playoff stakes, just Caitlin. Fans shelled out hundreds of dollars just to see her warm-up, with the average reported ticket price reaching an astounding $650. Do the math. That's almost $9.75 million just for a WNBA preseason game. At that point, the Caitlin Clark effect couldn't be dismissed. It wasn't hype. It wasn't marketing spin. It was next-level math, undeniable money, and unstoppable momentum. For many players, reality hit differently. Their own teams weren't building around them. They were banking on Caitlin. Promotions, ticket sales, everything surged only when she was in town. The broadcasters knew it, the sponsors knew it, and the fans certainly knew it.
Everyone else.
Caitlin Clark a problem, bro.
Yeah, she that.
I just think about my rookie year, and I think about how I came into the league, and I'm like, bro, it was such a crazy transition for me to just understand what it's like to play at the pro level. And it's like this girl coming in as a rookie and going she broke the record for assists. I don't think people really understand how crazy that is to do as a rookie, your first year doing this. But that's another episode. Shout out to Caitlin, bro.
Somewhere amidst the sold-out arenas, the marketing blitz, and the seismic shift in league energy, something profound began to settle in. Acceptance. And with that, the players started to speak.
Yes, have we ever had teams have to get into larger arenas to play against a team? No, we have not. So if we have more eyeballs on the game and Caitlin Clark brings that, why would we feel some kind of way because she has more television games? I think we have to understand that when one player eats, we all eat. And as we all get more opportunities, it just opens it up for everyone.
Have we ever had teams move to larger arenas to play against a team? No, we have not. If we have more eyeballs on the game and Caitlin Clark brings that, why would we feel some kind of way? When one player eats, we all eat. Slowly, unmistakably, the tone began to shift. The same media outlets that once questioned her every move were now running features on her leadership, her work ethic, her unprecedented impact. The same players who once seemed skeptical, some of them began to offer genuine credit, acknowledging she wasn't just good, but that she was truly changing the game. And that brings us to the moment, the one that sealed it, Caitlin Clark's homecoming. Fans filled Carver Hawkeye Arena in droves, and watch parties erupted across Iowa City. Over 1.3 million people watched that exhibition game on TV. It wasn't just the turnout or the sold-out arena, it was the context, the staggering comparison. That number didn't just lead the WNBA preseason, it outdrew games from other major professional leagues. But it wasn't just the people watching at home. It was what Caitlin did, knowing they were watching. She didn't shrink under the spotlight, she fed off it. She knew exactly what the audience came to see. With all eyes on her, Caitlin ran up court and sank a three-pointer from beyond the very spot where she broke the NCAA scoring record. It wasn't just a shot, it was a statement. The fans absolutely lost it. This wasn't just basketball anymore. It was entertainment, storytelling, pure theater, a full-circle moment executed with perfect timing. She understood the moment, what it meant, and how to deliver. Even the Brazilian national team, after the exhibition game, didn't just shake hands and walk off the court. They mobbed Caitlin, smiling, laughing, posing for selfies like they had just met Michael Jordan. Because in their eyes, that's exactly who she was. It's clear, she's having her Michael Jordan moment. This was it. The sold-out crowd, the 1.3 million viewers, the opponents swarming her for autographs after the final buzzer. We live in a world where perception is often louder than proof, and now the visual perfectly matched the undeniable reality. Everyone already knew the numbers, the broadcast schedule, the arena upgrades, the merchandise sales, the media buzz. But this was different. This was the moment the illusion cracked. The illusion that this was about anyone else. To put 1.3 million viewers for a preseason game into perspective, no NBA preseason game has had that audience in the last 7 years, and only 2 in the last 15 years. This preseason game outdrew Game 1 of last year's WNBA Finals. No MLB spring training game has ever come close. 1.3 million people watched Caitlin Clark, and with that, the entire game changed. Players, media, analysts, suddenly, they were far more pro-Caitlin Clark than just weeks earlier. Why? Because after what happened in the preseason, the sellouts, the ratings, the gravitational pull she brought to every building, it was no longer up for debate. She wasn't just riding a wave of fame, she was outworking everyone. While most players were easing into the offseason, Caitlin was jetting between high-profile appearances, speaking engagements, NFL owner meetings, the Masters, and still showing up at the gym by 8 a.m. the next morning. No excuses, no skipping, no burnout. That's not just discipline, that's legendary behavior, straight out of the Kobe Bryant playbook. Caitlin Clark is bigger, stronger, and fully primed to dominate. Her body is built for the pro grind, her decision-making is sharper, and her confidence under the spotlight has only grown. She's no longer just adapting to the WNBA, she's preparing to take it over. The haters? Some are actively trying to get ahead of the narrative by praising her, while others acknowledge the truth through silence. The grief of not being the star. That's what this truly comes down to. The proof is everywhere, the magnitude overwhelming. That preseason game in Iowa wasn't just hype. It was the rebirth of the Caitlin Clark effect, and this time, it's going to be bigger than ever.